A new report has revealed that U.S. banks have been laundering billions of dollars for hostile foreign governments, terrorist groups across the country. As you know, I'm handling one of the biggest cases in the country. We've brought Iran into the case. We've brought international banks into the case where we had people like HSBC, some of the biggest banks on the globe that were laundering money for terrorists. And I was asked to get involved and build out that case. This is a whole new feature, though, isn't it? This is bigger than anything I've seen.
Right. This should certainly, hopefully, help the case as well.
Yeah, it will.
Because these they're called the FinCEN files. And what this is, you have a lot of these banks here in the U.S., HSBC, J.P. Morgan, Barclays from England, Deutsche Bank, and banks from all over the world, really, that basically knowingly help terrorist organizations, drug cartels, hostile foreign governments that aren't allowed to move money, allowed them all to move money. And the other part of it is it's not just the banks knowingly doing this, because there's plenty of evidence in these papers, 2,500, I think there are.
Oh, they know.
They know they're doing it, but the governments have been sitting on this information because the banks do have to turn in their paper and say, hey, look, we think there's some fraud
Okay, but
here.
let me tell you what happens from what we've already seen from the litigation that we've brought. They turn in the papers, and what that does is gives them plausible protection.
Right.
In other words, hey, we told you, government, but what you see is they continued exactly the same course after they turned in the papers. The problem is that the Department of Justice does not have enough courage to do what they need to do. They don't need to go after all of them. HSBC, remember the story we did on HSBC? They signed a 6 or 7 page document. They said, yes, we're laundering money. Yes, we know it's going to terrorists. Yes, we know that the money is being used to kill American contractors and contractors actually from all over the world. Yes, we know all that. Yes, we have the records that show all that. And you know what? The Justice Department, Eric Holder did. Eric Holder made him pay $1.6 billion, $1.6 billion, slapped him on the hand. Nobody was even indicted.
And they made far more than that. So they technically profited off of this. They made
projection
tens of billions.
No, the projection was they made in excess of $30 billion.
God.
And the Justice Department fines him $1.6 billion. Where does this go, Farron?
Hopefully, well, unfortunately, let me tell you where it goes. It goes nowhere right now because the public doesn't seem to care. They don't seem to understand that their bank, because a lot of people have regular accounts at these banks. Your bank, you have your mortgage through them, you have a checking account with them. They are helping these criminals, deadly
traffickers, human traffickers, drug cartels, terrorists, oligarchs from Russia that are trying to hide money and trying to move it into the Western economy because right now they're suspended in being able to do that.
Well, and the reason the public isn't knowing about this story is because you tune to MSNBC or Fox or CNN right now, you're going to see commercials for big banks. You open up any newspaper in this country, there's going to be advertisements for banks.
Yeah.
These banks are huge spenders in corporate media. They're going to do what they can to downplay this. The blame will be shifted probably to the government rather than the banks. The banks will say, as you said, look, we pointed it out. We don't know why the government didn't do it.
All we had to do, yeah.
But this spanned the papers that they got a hold of, not all the papers, but just the ones they got a hold of. 4 administrations, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump.
It was going
happened under all of them.
During all of them.
Every one of them.
A new poll shows that swing state voters think both Trump and Biden are not mentally stable enough to be president. Whoa. This wouldn't bother me so much if it wasn't just one poll. But we're seeing edges of this poll. They're really talking about that most voters think that both of them are mentally unfit to be president. Out of 300 million people, this is the best we can do.
Right. That to me was the most shocking part of this. Out of everybody that could have run for president, out of all the Democrats that were running during the primary, we end up with 2 people who most voters, Republican and Democrats, look at both of them and say, neither one of these guys is there. They're not there enough to hold this job. Now, they do think Biden is physically fit enough, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay, the guy's not going to collapse, but is he competent enough to do the job? And 52% say no, 51% say no for Trump.
Farron, I think with the story that I saw, there was also something that was startling. It was that voters had an opinion that basically the election wasn't going to be fair, and that even if they didn't favor Trump, they said it doesn't make any difference. Trump's going to win.
Right.
That is. Did you see that theme?
Yeah.
Well, what is your take on it? I mean, it's pretty startling. They said, no, I don't want Trump, but I think he's going to win. And that has something to do with what we call the secret voter, doesn't it?
Right, and that is really interesting. And what the secret voter is the person who may be ashamed of who they're voting for. So when they get polled, they say, oh, no, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden, but really it's a Trump voter. They're not doing it to be sneaky. It's because personally they feel ashamed. And honestly, I think we do see a lot of that. And this is anecdotal, but we're in the Panhandle, an exceptionally red part of the state.
Right.
There's a lot of Trump flags and stickers, but nowhere near the amount we saw with Romney or Bush or McCain.
Yeah.
So I do think there really are these ashamed voters, but...
Okay, but think about this now. This is how these two things tie up. You're on the phone, you're talking to somebody doing polling. Okay, you don't want to say, hey, I'm going to vote for Trump. You're saying, no, I don't, I'm a Biden guy. But in back of your mind, the reason you're saying, I think Trump is going to win anyway, is because you're thinking, well, I'm not really saying, I'm not really telling the truth here. I'm going to go to the polls and do what I want to do. Farron Cousins, thank you for joining me, okay?
Thank you.